Hi, welcome to this episode of Whistle the Feast. Norah, what can listeners expect in this episode?
You can expect to talk about music, documentaries, birds, turtles with their mouths open, and multiple new words were created over the span of this episode.
Look out.
That is a gigantic
That's what
bird.
I was thinking. I was like, are you kidding me? He is obsessed with granola bars.
His
so
first word in his whole
fitting.
life was granola bar.
Was granola bar.
Pretty good.
And that is beautiful.
That's what he thought. It's pretty great.
yeah, that's what he wanted.
It feels like destiny. I don't know if I believe it.
So he didn't have teeth.
And he got granola bar out. That's what I'm saying is I'm like, Mom, how are you getting granola bar into that baby? Like he wasn't chewing it. Like,
He's just gumming
Liquefied
oats.
granola.
liquefied granola. Is that just baby food anyway? I don't know what's in baby.
I feel like you could call it liquefied granola and charge like 3 times as much
Yeah.
for it.
They're
It'll
like,
be a business model.
this is our new
Yeah.
liquefied granola. And
Free
it's
range.
$60 for 3 ounces.
Why is mine different?
Because we have 4 mics that can run through this thing.
Because you came in last.
You can switch with me if you like.
That's okay. I was just wondering.
Do you guys edit at all, or is it just...
Zoom.
I do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, a little bit. But the whole idea of this is that it's kind of long form, and we just want it to flow. Yeah, we don't know. Jaksyn might be a fraud. We might not be recording.
It could be. It could be.
Okay, well, let's start. Welcome to Whistle the Feast. I'm your host, Jason Jaspersen, and I'm joined by co-host Norah Kratz. And we have around the table Alyssa Inniger, Benji Inniger, and Allison Rygh joining us to talk about the topic of appreciation. Supposedly. We'll see where we go with that. Allegedly appreciation. How about we go around and do a quick intro about, I suppose, whatever you see fit.
Sure.
We'll start over here.
All right. My name is Benji Inniger. Inniger like vinegar, if we have not been acquainted. I do a bunch of different things. I've got kind of a patchwork quilt of a life and career right now. So I have worked at Bethany for a very long time, and went to school here, graduated in 2006, did my MFA here in town at Minnesota State, and then other than a couple years of a sojourn in Rhode Island, we've been here working at Bethany ever since. So I'm in the theater department, so I designed the sound and lights for most of our theater productions. In the past, I've directed shows and taught music courses and film scoring courses, music technology, that kind of thing. But just designing for now, and I also work at the Mankato Symphony Orchestra. I'm the director of operations, so I do I make the concerts happen, basically. And I do some freelance work. So it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows always, but I do sound design and music for video games and films, and I do concert recording and just kind of whatever comes my way, and been dabbling in photography lately, so a big pile of variety, which is fun.
Say a little bit more about dabbling in photography as
Sure.
regards our current moment.
Absolutely. So just coming up, I've been so fortunate to be given a gallery show here at Bethany Lutheran College, and it's called Humans Don't Exist. And it's from the last just about 2 years, so it's all really recent stuff. Some stuff as recent as about 2 weeks ago in this show, and it all kind of is based on some adventures that I've had around Minnesota and beyond. And I've been doing photography, or I've been interested in photography for a very long time, but only recently has it had an actual focus, I think. So that's been a really lovely exploration. It's been really soul-feeding for me. Just a joy to be able to share some of this stuff finally. Yeah. Really excited about it.
That was a great pun, by the way. It's been a real focus.
Yeah,
wow.
I caught that too.
Beautifully executed. Wow. What'd you get your master's in?
In theater arts, in sound design specifically.
That's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of sound stuff and directing and same stuff in grad school.
Wow. Awesome.
All right,
Alyssa.
moving on.
Yes, I am Alyssa Inniger, married to Benji Inniger. Sounds like vinegar. And I am the library director here at Bethany Lutheran College. So I love books. I love the alphabet. I love reading. I love organizing those books. What else do? I do some music. I play the viola primarily. I started on violin, but then I saw the light and I switched over to the dark side.
She really likes chickens.
That's a good one. We needed that.
Yes, I do. I love chickens. We moved out to the farm during COVID, during 2020. We moved out to the farm and we moved in with a bunch of chickens, and we've been getting.
They were looking for roommates.
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
we can't pay for this.
Really unsanitary.
Well, that was gracious. You moved in with the chickens.
We moved in. They were great
Got like
hosts.
50 roommates.
It's like 65 at this point.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot of chickens.
chickens.
But yeah, we've got a couple of dogs, we've got a couple of kitties, and just loving life on the farm.
That's so cool.
Yeah, playing music and reading books.
Wow. Sounds like paradise somehow.
It is.
Okay.
All right,
Next up.
I'm Allison Rygh. I'm a sophomore and I'm majoring in music and education. I also work in the library with Alyssa, which is the best because she's the best.
Aw.
And I love being creative. I love a lot of different hobbies, mostly craft related and music related. In my free time, I'll often be kind of sitting quietly doing a craft with my hands while I'm listening to something or watching something, and that's really relaxing for me. That's what I'm into right now. So,
How about you?
I'm Norah Kratz. I'm a sophomore. I'm a double major in studio arts and English, and I have a minor in communications. I like most traditional art things, and now actually digital illustration too. I like digital stuff. So painting, drawing, probably eventually I'll like sculpting. I'll move in that direction.
You'll get there
over time. I dabble in a lot of things, like you said. Also, like you said, and actually also like you said, I think we have a theme. So I like doing some theater stuff. Sometimes I do some music stuff. I'm a gallery assistant. I'm an art service.
Yeah.
What do you mean by digital stuff?
Really just whatever Andy has taught us this semester, which is Corel Painter. And I figured out, so I already knew like Procreate, which is like so intuitive, so it's like, it's really easy, but now that we're like getting into Corel and like doing digital art, maybe I just like the tablet because it's so much bigger, but for some reason I'm just like, I used to be like, I can't do this. Like something in my brain was just not connecting, like, that it's the same thing, you're just doing it on a tablet, but it's locking in. I'm really enjoying it.
So it didn't used to feel like the same thing, and now it does?
I think so, something like that.
And same thing being digital media versus like a paint or ink?
Yes, and specifically I feel like I'm like painting more, like on, which is really interesting too. And it's really nice for like studying. Yeah, crazy.
Okay. Well, I'm Jason Jaspersen, and I am also a dabbler. And lately I've been dabbling in podcasting, and I find it really delightful. There's a kind of a free fall that we're engaged in right now. We kind of know what we're here for. But so far, the episodes that we've recorded have had this sort of delightful, meandering way of working. And we kind of discover things about each other around the room, and maybe find connections, right? We find ways that maybe we're all dabblers somehow, and we didn't know it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to read through this poem to kind of guide us a little bit. This is by Gerard Manley Hopkins, called Pied Beauty. Glory be to God for dappled things, for skies of couple color as a brinded cow, for rose moles all in stipple upon trout that swim, fresh fire-cold chestnut falls, finch's wings. Landscape plotted in peace to fold fallow and plow. And all trades, their gear and tackle and trim. All things counter original, spare, strange. Whatever is fickle, freckled, who knows how. With swift, slow, sweet, sour, a dazzle dim. He fathers forth, whose beauty is past change. Praise him.
That's beautiful.
Where'd you find that?
That's a great question. That came to me in an email from David Riegels.
Very neat. Did he just think of you and send it your way, or
He did.
Okay.
There are more. He was kind of on the theme. He was thinking about Christian creativity, because that was something that I was really talking about and thinking about at the time, and that, I don't know, popped up in his memory.
is this a living poet? Do you know?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that kind of came up when I thought about licensing.
Yeah.
Right.
Smart.
Can we do this?
It sounded a bit like walking through your gallery, Benji.
Exactly. That's one of these discoveries. So the idea of appreciation, I wonder how that strikes you in your life, all y'all. Is there something about maybe the way that you introduced yourself that connects with the concept of appreciation? Or let's see what comes out of this.
Can I start with a question?
Yeah.
That I think is something I've thought about regarding appreciation and regarding, well, if I can reference the art show that's coming up, I've got a little corner that's about appreciation. When we first moved into our farm, there was a little chunk of land that is so ugly in winter. It's actually very, very unattractive to look at for about 10 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a spring that goes through it, and so it's real marshy, and no trees grow there, and there used to be like telephone lines running through there. So when we first moved in, I just thought it was like useless. I just
Kind
thought
of
it
a
was
waste.
garbage. Yeah.
Mhm.
But because we couldn't do anything, we couldn't, nothing. It's just a mosquito swamp. But what we figured out is that for about a month every year, it's a massive field of spotted jewelweed. It's this wildflower, native wildflower, and it is a hummingbird haven. So especially this past year, I'll just plop myself in the middle of this and just be buzzed around by like dozens of hummingbirds, and it's amazing. And so it just
Become one of them.
yeah.
Dozens of hummingbirds.
Yeah,
Dozens.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think the most I've ever seen in there one time was close to 20.
Wow.
And they come and go and whatever, but yeah, I mean, it got me thinking about this idea of appreciation, and something I thought was useless is now my favorite part of where we live. But I guess my question is, and why I kind of struggled about that little section of the art show, is that by declaring your appreciativeness, does it cheapen the idea of appreciation? I guess is the question. It's like, because it's such a, appreciation isn't really an emotion necessarily. It's a decision based on an emotion, I think.
Yeah.
And so if you have declared yourself appreciative, does it mean less because it is no longer that personal thing?
Does it become performative?
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow.
And it certainly can be. And I think the easy answer is yes, of course it can be.
Yeah.
But if it's anywhere external, is it less appreciative?
I think it's interesting that you use the word cheapen when you're talking about appreciation, because my first step when I was considering the term appreciation was to go to the dictionary. I looked up the Oxford English Dictionary, the word appreciation, and the first time it was written down, according to Oxford, is about 1425 by John Wycliffe, who was a theologian and a professor at Oxford. And it has to do with the idea of assigning monetary value to an item.
Yeah, okay.
So as an item appreciates, it gains in value.
Mm.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, Well, it's like if I tell someone I appreciate them, I am saying, hey, you have value.
Yeah.
I value what you do and what you say and who you are. And then I thought kind of the other side, or maybe the edge of that coin, is gratitude, being thankful, and looking inward to say, what am I grateful for, where appreciation is looking outward to those nearby. So I thought that was interesting with that monetary value.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's something. So like gratitude is internal, appreciation is external.
I think so.
I think that's a good way to, I think that makes sense.
That's interesting because if you're appreciating something that's not a person, they don't get anything out of it. If you're appreciating something that's inanimate, I think that could potentially cheapen, is the word that you used, the object by stating like something really common. If you look at something that you like, you say, oh, that's cool. Well, what does that even mean? You know, but you don't go to a person that you like and say, hey, that's cool, because you say it in a more personal way.
Yeah.
And it means a lot more to the person that you're saying it to, because if you say something to a thing, it can't get anything out of that.
Yeah, so in that case, appreciation more is just for you. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we appreciate things even? Why do we put in that work? That's a lot of work.
Well, is it? I mean, does it? So does it drain you or does it fill you?
Probably fill.
Probably
you know what
fill.
I mean? Saying appreciation drains you feels crazy, so I don't know.
Well, appreciation also comes with a massive scale. Like, you know, I appreciate the first cup of coffee in the morning versus do you appreciate, is it the same or different than the first 70-degree day after a long winter? Or that you appreciate, you know, a family member? You know, like it's a massive scale word that means a lot of different things that can be sort of thrown away or that can be incredibly profound in your life.
I think that's one of the weirdest, like, things that can occur to you in life is when that scale is, like, flipped on its head. I remember reading this post on somewhere that was this girl describing how, like, big happy and little happy sometimes become the same thing for her, of the joy of, like, cooking meal in her home or, like, her big trip to New York. And she was like, the recognition that the feeling is actually, like, really similar. Yeah. That's a cool human experience, right?
Yeah, sometimes we assign, like, the big trip, you know, probably I should be happier because I've put in, like, more towards this. I've put in time and money and planning, and you sort of have these expectations built in.
Yeah.
But if you're honest with yourself, sometimes it doesn't deliver that way. And if you're honest with yourself, sometimes cooking does.
Yeah.
You know, the mundane things can really be pretty great.
I think a lot of times, too, appreciation is married to the element of surprise, too. Because things that you've worked towards, maybe I would put that more in the camp of satisfaction as opposed to appreciation versus things that you don't plan on or expect that happen that you can then appreciate more objectively because you don't have that baggage, positive or negative baggage.
Yeah.
Being present seems to be a factor.
Right.
You're paying attention.
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah, I feel like that keeps coming up in, like, noticing things, paying attention. I help with Inkwell as well, and I think a lot of the poems that we get in that I end up editing is just, like, people, like, relaying their experience of noticing things, which is really interesting. Like, there's not that much to notice on a college campus, except when you read someone's poem, you're like, oh my goodness, there is. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have gotten that both from editing pieces for that, and then also, I got to write an opinion piece for a newspaper a couple of weeks ago, and, like, what I decided ended up kind of stumbling upon, like, this is probably what I should write about, is, that one Mary Oliver quote that's like, paying attention, this is our endless and proper work. I think that's what that's what the piece ended up being about. Just kind of the art of paying attention.
That's a through line of, I think, all visual art probably is,
Yeah.
like what makes a piece of art unique generally is that it was observed from a certain perspective and manifested. And so, yeah, just that element of observation is that through line that connects no matter what the piece of art is, I think, even music.
But John Dewey, I studied John Dewey in my master's. Dewey Decimal System guy.
Yeah. Alphabet man.
Turns out he was about more than that.
Yes, indeed.
So he had a lot of thoughts about education and experience. Experience is a big deal for him, which is a fascinating thing to have as a big deal. Experience and phenomena. So he writes extensively about what is art, where does it come from, how does it function or operate, and he insists that it happens long before there's any material, long before there's a method or a process. Something happens in the viewer or the artist, the person who will become an artist. Their attention is sort of enamored with something. Like I imagine Cupid's arrow, like suddenly you think that this thing has a little shimmer around it, whatever it is. And so you have this sort of personal experience with your attention, right? Something happens, you have a realization, you notice something. And the problem is you're like inside of you, and how do you let anybody else know about this? How do you share it? Results vary. There's different ways to do that, right? So a poem saying, I noticed this, or a painting saying, wow, I was here and it looked like this. But all of those are just like shadows of that first experience where, whoa, this was really something, and let me try to relay that to you in some diminished way.
I think that can kind of put pressure on yourself as well. If you classify yourself as an artist or a practicer of art, to feel like you must have a perspective, it's like, and I'm not, I totally agree with you, but if you take that too far or you think about that too hard, sometimes you feel like, oh, I have to have a unique perspective, a unique observation in order for this to be worthwhile, whatever that thing is that you're working on. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one of the tough things about making things too is, and maybe that's just my experience, is feeling like you have to have, I've got a lot of complex feelings about the word voice, like you have to have a voice, and all that stuff, discovering your voice, all that stuff. And I think that just leads to pressure, which makes it less fun, or opens you up less.
That's really interesting. I was like, you said voice, and I was like, where have I read? I was reading one of your, I was making one of the labels, and there was a section about artistic voice, and I was just like, like as I was cutting the labels out. And I think it was something about like, the art versus the voice coming first, like, or like which one spawns from which. I think you were talking about almost the same thing, which is crazy. That you got advice one time that an artistic voice is like extremely important.
Yeah.
And how as you've been working, you've realized that that's maybe not the best.
Yeah, and that advice has come from people that I deeply respect in their artistry, like extremely successful, enviable people where they are in their artistic lives. And so, of course, when you're younger, you take that to heart and you'll be like, I will never make it because I haven't figured out what my voice is yet. But now that I'm getting older and thinking about it more and trying more things, I kind of just don't buy it. Yeah. I think. And it's more innate than that. Is like, you do the things that you do because you are who you are. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes you have a little bit more of an opinion on it or whatever. But just that idea that you need to have a well-clarified definition of your voice, I think is not the case.
That could just stop you from doing anything.
Exactly. It's too much pressure.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially as artists and dabblers and those who are interested in so many different things. We're almost like compelled to do this. It's like, I have to do something, or I am diminishing somehow. My personhood is not who I am. When I was going through my master's degree, it was I was working full time, and then every evening was homework and readings, and I didn't pick up my instrument for months, I think it was, and I got so depressed. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I wasn't doing any other like creative things, but I wasn't making something. I wasn't bettering myself in that corner of my brain, and it's almost as if I have so much pressure that I have to do the thing, I have to create in order for value or recognition or something, then that does diminish and that does take away. But we are creatives who have to create regardless. Yeah. Finding that freedom to do that. Yeah.
We almost called this podcast some variation on snorkel. I have so many versions that have something to do with snorkel. And it has to do with the phenomenon that you just described where you realized you were kind of suffocating without your viola.
Yeah.
Because maybe all that homework and all of that everything, that state of mind was maybe not your natural habitat. And you can go there if you have a snorkel to breathe the oxygen you're supposed to.
Right.
But you were holding your breath for too long.
Right.
I mean, that kind of brings us back around to Allison's introduction in a way of just saying, like, I really like making things with my hands. I need to be doing that. I need to be making things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that tied back. I was like, what did I say in my intro? Right, so. Yeah, I actually have a question that has to do with creating, and this is maybe specifically for Benji. So, as a musician, a question that I'm asked a lot is, do you create music? And I think that music is inherently different from other art forms because you're either performing something that someone else has created, or you're creating something that comes from your knowledge and your base and everything, but it's still something that you made. And it's a little bit more vulnerable, I think, in that way. So, as someone who has created a lot of music, how do you find that to be different than creating other forms of art as it pertains to, like, your voice as an artist? Because I think, I mean, it's not supposed to be a pun, but it kind of is a pun with, like, voice and music. How does that... I just think it's inherently more vulnerable. What do you think about that?
I think when you're making music, I would more consider myself a craftsperson of music, not a creator of music, because a lot of what I do is... the fancy academic word, I guess, would be programmatic music. So it's music that is attached to some other medium, whether that's a play or a film or a video game or whatever. It's meant to support another visual medium. And as opposed to, like you think of the famous classical composers and, like all art creation is the same in which you're sort of the product of you are what you eat. You know what I mean? Like you take in the things that you take in, you process them through your own self, and then you make the thing that's new. And music is no different from that, but I think there's maybe a difference between creating a symphony out of nothing versus crafting music that supports a bigger artistic idea. So that's where I think maybe I fit on the spectrum. And, I've attempted writing things in a vacuum, and thing, and it just doesn't go as well. I think is when I have some other kind of medium to think about and attach to.
Interesting.
But you need those parameters, you need those boundaries, or I'm within this. I mean, it's the same with library. Yeah. Libraries do not exist to be libraries. Every single library exists to support a parent institution. For the Bethany Memorial Library, it's Bethany Lutheran College. For the state law library, I mean, it's the taxpayer. Even the Library of Congress, it's a national repository. It exists to serve the people of the United States of America. British Library, any museum that this collection exists for a larger purpose. Can music exist alone?
Oh yeah, I think it can. And maybe another analogy would be the engineer versus the architect. Like the engineer pours the foundation, the architect builds the pretty building, And so it's like, if you're doing the symphony, which is a brand new idea, then, you know, that's not to say that there's not elements of beauty in there at all, but that's the engineering, you know, as opposed to the architect that builds something on top of that foundation that's already been poured.
Well, tell us about Bold North. Tell us about that film, because what I hear in Allison's question, or what I hear in your answer to Allison's question, is that you're mostly like a support guy when it comes to music. That implies that somebody else is doing the primary storytelling. You're helping. But here's a situation where you're kind of directing the story and you're making the programmatic music-ish. I mean, I'm not sure if that qualifies as programmatic music. And you're providing the visuals. You're kind of the whole crew.
Sure. That's true, but I guess I don't see it as too different, because I went into the project with a specific goal of getting better at the visual stuff. And which is another reason I think this whole art show, or this gallery show, is so exciting, because I've never really had anything to contribute much to the visual arts before. And, you know, that we can talk about practice, and I definitely don't practice. So that's one thing, but you tend to be able to practice the things that you have a proclivity to. And visual art is just not, you know, I don't have a proclivity to drawing, painting, etc. So it's neat to have something to submit to visual art. But music was the thing that I knew I was a little bit more practiced in, and that I knew I could handle. So a big focus of the project was to go out and get better at photography, videography, explore the state, become a better naturalist, hopefully, try to do all those things, combine all those things, try to take all these random pieces of footage that I ended up with and create some sort of narrative of it, which is actually very akin to many, many, many theater projects that I've been a part of. So that was fairly comfortable. So music was the thing that I knew I could sort of count on, just because it was the most practiced of all of those things that I could do. So I guess in that aspect, it didn't feel too different for me. It was exploring this new thing that I was really excited about of the visual side, and then supporting it with the music that I do.
Right.
So that's a sequential art form. Film is a sequential art form. Music obviously is too, and video. You have to edit that in a particular order. I'm looking at images, I'm looking at moving images, I'm hearing a score. What's the primary driver? What is causing the other thing to happen?
I think trying to do both things is sort of a cheat code almost, because, you know, I don't spend as much time arguing with myself about a particular decision. And so, you know, so like I can always have the other thing in the back of my mind when I'm doing whatever the current thing is, if that makes sense.
Did you write the score before anything else?
No. So for the most part, images came first. So I had some ideas of what I wanted it to feel like. And this project was got a little bit chaos anyway, because originally I was only going to write the music for about a dozen or so musicians, and that I was just going to hire some mercenary musicians and record it here at our chapel and do that. But then it came late in the process, the possibility of performing this live with the Mankato Symphony. And so with about 5 months left in the project, it had to be for full orchestra instead of 12 instruments that I picked. So that also kind of drove, you know, because orchestra is a specific instrument that does a specific thing. Mm-hmm. And so that sort of drove a lot of decisions as well. But the short answer to your question, I guess, is that I would assemble a rough cut of all the images, try to find those narratives, try to find ideas within those things, and then write music to that. And then I could fine tune both sides simultaneously as we got closer.
So they talk to each other.
They do talk to each other.
Yeah. I try to teach painters a stance toward their painting called responsive intent. I think I made up the phrase. But that's me, like, in a diminished way, trying to use language to explain what I think I do at the easel. And it's like that, where you do a thing and you have an intent, right? You have to have some sort of an intent going in, but there ought to be some sort of flexibility. And maybe And maybe the thing is like a mirror, like it can, maybe you can listen to it in some way. Yeah.
Like a reaction.
Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. So sometimes...
Which sounds... I feel like it sounds so, like, artistic from another, like, sometimes I just let the painting... I just follow the painting. Like,
yeah, it's a little flaky.
That's actually what it is. Sometimes you, like, do something by accident and you're like, that actually was pretty good.
Right, the accidents could be a suggestion.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know if there's a way to make it not sound flaky, but...
That's okay. That's what we are.
Okay.
It works.
We just have to, we gotta lean into it. We don't have a choice.
So I find it pretty refreshing to hear this sort of fluid back and forth between the mediums, talking to each other.
Yeah, and I think a good example of that was the first movement, or the first season that I worked on was Summer. And so when I edited it, when it became edited, then it was really spastic. It was a lot going on. It was really, I wouldn't call it jumpy. I'm lacking the right word. It was just like potentially too high of energy in its editing style. But then I thought, and I got that feedback from somebody, and I thought about it. It's like, no, that's Summer. So we're just going to embrace that, and we're going to try to take the music for Summer on that same journey where it ends up, like with this, or it starts with this beautiful sunrise and everything's kind of groggy and sleepy. And then it gets crazy because Summer is, you look this way and it's, a bunch of birds doing something over here. And then you look this way and it's that's the energy of Summer. So that was very much a case that I think speaks to what you're talking about here, is letting both sort of inform each other.
And you can be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't plan that. I just, there was a lot to see in Summer. And so that's just kind of how the video was cut and informed everything else.
Which is a fascinating study because I feel like winter ended up being your longest piece.
Right.
And throughout this process, I got a shotgun view of this process.
She put up with me is what she's saying. she dealt with my shenanigans.
Happily dealt with. He does the cooking. It's all good. But before you started this project, your entire life, you were a fairly anti-winter kind of a guy. Winter is hard. It is cold. It is still. It is slow moving. It is difficult. And this past season, you said that you liked winter.
Okay, we're going to bring it all around here. This project has given me a surprised accidental appreciation of winter
let's go.
that I have never experienced in 40 years of life. And now I kind of feel like a winter guy because this project has made me deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's weird.
That sounds like the swamp story, too.
I was thinking the hummingbirds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give it time. You got to find out what it is. What is special about this? Find those things that speak to you. Give it the time. Give it the season.
And allow yourself to consider it, to be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess sometimes it just occurs, and sometimes you literally have to make a documentary about it before it comes. But if it gets
that's true, right?
That and buying
maybe
snow
we
pants.
won't get there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had snow pants before, and that really makes winter more tolerable.
Maybe I need to do that then, because I don't have snow pants and I don't like winter.
Snow pants are amazing. You just sit down right in the snow. It's great.
Yeah, it's like pants that are a quilt.
I thought you were going to say pants that are meant for the snow, and I was like, well, yeah.
Well, right, it's in the word.
I haven't had a reason to have them until now.
I feel like talking about live music. Looking across the table here.
I was going to bring that up.
Do it.
Okay, but I don't know if it's a complete thought yet.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
But it just feels right. Like, what I want to say is, I think it's sorcery.
I think...
And that's a half joke. Like not literally evil magic, but but it baffles
Good
me.
Magic.
It baffles me. It's the existence of it seems it's so connected with physics, and it stands on the shoulders of so many generations
Yes.
to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Instrument makers, and there are iterations of different kinds of instruments that we sort of take for granted. Somewhere back in time, somebody, finessed that into something that will actually make a beautiful thing. And then there's the whole tradition of performance and written music, and that's the academic sort of brain answer. But when there's live music in the air, when people are playing, I just when I consider what is actually happening, you're like vibrating molecules, and people are doing this together, and then there's harmony and rhythm. There is really something exquisite about that. And then it comes in and it hits our eardrums, and we can share. That's all I got. I mean, tell me about that magic if you got anything.
I want to say something about chapel.
Yeah.
I have noticed that chapel has become, if not my very favorite, very close to my favorite part of every day. And I don't know if it's just like the textbook answer of well, we get to go and hear the word of God every day, because that's great. But it's also, I think, the atmosphere of like-minded people, and I see my friends in chapel every day, and we're sitting there, and not only are we experiencing the service and the Bible and everything, we're also experiencing music. And I think that is something that we maybe take for granted, of how special it is, because we spend this 20 to 30 minute part of every day in the chapel, and then sometimes when I leave chapel I think, I feel really good right now. And then it took me a while to really realize why, and I think that is probably a large part of it, is the live music.
There are so many facets to music that you don't really realize. Like you said, the history, the centuries of humanity that has gone before us to create music, to refine it, to play with it, to make it as perfect as it can be, or as chilling, or every single emotion can be reflected in music somehow. There are so many pieces, the physics, the physiology. When I play for a really long time, I hurt. I physically hurt. But it's a good thing as well. It's like, okay, now I need to be taking care of my body. I need to be eating healthy. I'm exercising my brain and my body, but then there's also balance that I need to figure out, and strength training, and these things that you don't necessarily realize all come together. And I think that's any
didn't you
art.
tell me the other day that you got a new instrument and the opposite happened?
Yeah.
It makes you feel physically alive.
It was amazing. Yes. I was just hanging out at home, and it's I don't want to plop in front of the TV and just, turn it on and veg out. I'm not ready for that yet. I got to do something. I got to make something. So I picked up my viola, which I've had for just over a year now or so. And I put it under my chin, and I always just draw the bow across the strings, and the resonance of that body just connected with my collarbone and just entered my soul. And it was so vibrant and alive, and I just felt connected to this thing that used to be alive, used to be a growing tree, and has been carved into something else by someone halfway around the world. And my teachers who taught me these things, and my husband who puts up with my practicing, and just how invigorating it is. And even though that sometimes, yes, it is physically painful, it is also life-giving.
There's this, I think, when in the Bible, when it says image of God, that applies to so many things. And I think just the fractal nature of music is a purely sequential in so many different ways art form applies to that so well. of like, this is what I was saying, what I don't know if it's a complete thought yet. Something about like the image of God and like that mirroring of your information passed down through generations of how to play viola. The viola being made from things, and then I don't know, just kind of a mirror effect of information and art, and like beauty being passed down is a really cool thing to think about.
Can you just unpack fractal? Like, just make sure everybody understands.
Yeah, that's actually something else I wrote about in that Mary Oliver article. A fractal is a self-repeating pattern, and it's like a mathematical phenomenon. So, think like,
importantly, it self-repeats at different scales.
So it's self-same. It keeps going.
As it is small, so it is large.
Yes. And you can see it in like, you can like use it to diagnose lung cancer and also to plot the terrain of a coastline. Like, and you know, it has connections to the Fibonacci sequence and therefore to like famous art.
But did you say the fractal nature of reality or something along those lines? I said
the fractal nature of what Alyssa was talking about, which is the like repetition and self-sameness of the process of her playing music. So, I mean, it's what she described of the cycle of a tree, and then that tree being made into a viola, and like she said, coming alive again, which is a beautiful thought. Mm-hmm. The self-sameness of the knowledge of how to play a viola and how to read music being passed down through generations. The self-sameness of God being a creator and creating us, and us creating music. There's a really cool fractal nature to art.
This huge sort of lineage.
Yeah. Perhaps. Perchance. Great.
Work in progress. Yeah, I've been thinking about how when God designs something, it can keep on giving. Right? You mentioned the tree. Mm-hmm. So in some cases, when we make something or we participate in the world in some way, it's like we're cooperating, we're collaborating with God. I think sailing is this way. The wind is going to do what it's going to do, and the water's doing what it's doing right now, and you know, you can cooperate and you can go places. God makes trees, and then the trees make more trees over and over and over. And then, you know, we can cooperate with that, and we can make a musical instrument, or we can make a boat, a sailboat. We can make a musical instrument, right? And that musical instrument then can resonate and make something else. When God makes something, it has potential that I think we have a hard time finding the end of.
Infinite possibilities.
I think that's especially true with people, because the whole natural world is created by God, but humans are the only thing that were made in the image of God. So that untapped potential in the world around us, I think, is especially true in ourselves. Because we are the only part of creation that can cooperate with other parts of creation by decision, because everything else cooperates just because of its nature. Mm-hmm. We have to make that decision to cooperate and interact with it.
I think that's an important piece, that choice. We have to choose to cooperate, or we can choose to not cooperate.
I mean, and that rolls right back around to what Benji said at the beginning of the choice of appreciation.
Yes.
You know? Also, God, oh my goodness, that he is so like radically generous.
That guy.
That guy.
Radically generous.
Yes.
Say more.
Radically appreciative.
Say more.
I mean, do I even have to? I mean, like, she was just talking about nature. God didn't have to make the world beautiful, and that's just the nature. He also sent Jesus to take away our sins. Like, that's radical.
Absolutely, radically generous. Yeah. And I think that that ties with appreciation pretty big. And I think that's kind of what the poem is about. You just see, like, there's a little parentheses in the poem after freckles. Who knows how?
Yeah.
That is so cute.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just little things, little things.
I think in the poem, too, I think maybe had something to say about imperfection, too. Yes. At first I was going to say fallibility, but I don't think that's right. I think it's just imperfection. Because it's the imperfections, well, going back to music, what makes an orchestra sounds like an orchestra, it's imperfection. If that's what a string section makes a string section sound like, and why that's so pleasing is because it's 30 different people trying to be perfect and failing to do so. And so you just have these slight variations that creates that sound that is the string section.
So if you had a digital version where you actually had like 30 copies of the same tone.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
It doesn't have the warmth to it.
So digitally they have to make it imperfect for it to sound good?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, in when you're working with things like virtual instruments and stuff like that, that's the key to making it sound believable is by forcing it to be imperfect, because computers always want to be perfect, and they're really good at being perfect.
I'm going to suggest that you change vocab a little bit.
Sure.
From perfect, switch perfect, imperfect to like regular and irregular, something like that.
Why the switch?
Because I think perfection is a stance on like what's desirable.
Sure.
And you're kind of refuting it,
True. Yeah, true. And I also do think that it's perfection is something that I think all artists, that's too broad of a statement, that musicians work towards. You want to hit the pitch perfectly. You want to do that, but I don't think it's actually possible on earth. It's just like perfection is unattainable. And so you strive for it, but you get as close as you can, you get as accurate, maybe accurate is the word. But
there's something in that striving towards it that we admire.
Music, I think, has some uniquities as well, too, is that...
That might not be a word.
Uniquities?
I like uniquities.
Maybe it is
I
now.
have a master's degree.
I
It
was
is now.
look, John Wycliffe had to write appreciation. He had to say
Uniquities.
Yeah.
I've never pretended to be a smart person, so we're just going to go with it. But, music is the only art form that relies on an invisible medium, invisible physics. Everything else is visual, tactile, other kinds of things. You cannot see music. You can see notes on a page. You can see strings moving. You cannot see music. It's like the wind. So that's interesting. I think music is also perhaps the most subject to taste. And related to that, I think to its great benefit and its great detriment, music is also the most accessible. So, like how many people in the last 200 years on this earth have heard Beethoven's Ninth Symphony?
Everyone.
Versus, how many people have had a chance to go to Italy and look at the birth of Venus? You know what I mean? It's like that expanse of accessibility is massive. And so music just has that innate accessibility, and sometimes that makes it cheap, and sometimes it's a wonderful thing because everybody can experience it, and it is really such a universal language. So I think those things really kind of conspire to make it an incredibly unique form amongst the art forms.
I'm very interested in what makes a form or a medium really like what justifies its existence as a separate thing from a different medium.
Right.
So that invisible quality is really fascinating. I've been realizing lately that sculpture's uniquity is simultaneousness. I'm having a hard time finding another thing that operates in a way that just sits there but also constantly broadcasts in all directions and is encountered in a non-linear way. When you look at a sculpture, you see what you see first, and then second, and then third, and you have the realizations that you have first, and then second, and then third. And so many other mediums are a sequential, designed encounter. So, when you design a sculpture, you're trying to make it operate from 360 degrees up and down, and the meaning has to be able to deliver itself in any possible order, any possible sequence. So mediums, I've got kind of a running tally, what makes this medium special? What makes this medium special? Separate from others.
I have something to say about visual quality and music, because you could probably call this a hot take, but I think,
yes.
I think that things that are designed as music merch, specifically slogans about music and t-shirts that people think they should buy for their musician friends, are inherently tacky. They're so bad because it's things like me and my clarinet against the world. And it's that, and it's just stupid looking posters, and you go into music, elementary music classrooms, and the posters aren't pretty, they're just weird color combinations, and I just think that, why is that? Why is music so, it's visually ugly? Things that I associate with, I don't really know if there's a better thing to call it than music merch, because merch sounds like a weird word to use for it, but I think that's just because you can't capture the inherent quality of music in a visual form. And I don't really mind when people wear tacky t-shirts. I would never wear one just because you know what I mean? I just think that
I think
it's impossible to capture. Yes.
Cheapens.
Yes, yeah. It does.
Maybe because it doesn't translate. You want it to, but there's something that just doesn't jump over. It doesn't express the thing that music is so good at. Words might not be the right medium. Mm-hmm. Most of the world seems to default to using language as a, sort of the universal way to get at what's happening, but it falls short. Music exists because it does something else.
I think there can be an innocence to this too. As a former wearer of tacky musician shirts, my favorite shirt. Yeah, I know that's true. My favorite shirt in high school was it looked like a warning label, and it said "Warning, temperamental musician," and I wore it all the time because I felt like that was 100% of my personality. And so
accurate,
and so I think there's a simplicity of it too, and I totally agree with you, but. There's to the wearer of the tacky shirt, I think there can be an innocence to it.
It definitely depends on the person.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, when you said about music does something that can't be put into words, the old saying, when words fail, music speaks, tries to do just that, and it fails. And that statement, when words fail, music speaks, or however other iterations of it, that kind of frustrates me because I want to like that statement, but it's trying to put something into words that can't be put into words.
Yeah.
Let me try a different one on you. George O'Keeffe, the painter, supposedly said, "I can't sing, and so I paint."
Interesting.
I think it's always just you're just trying a different medium of communication, and when you try a different thing, it's going to be that thing. So you're trying to describe music. You can't, if you're trying to describe music in a way that's other than music, it's not music anymore. It's that thing. So you're trying to make a painting about music. It's not music. It's a painting. You know what I mean?
Well, she's not saying that it's music. George O'Keeffe is not saying that it's music.
Yeah, I was more just saying
she's just saying,
there's imperfection and translation.
I couldn't do one, so I had to choose another.
Yeah. I think that's lovely. I was just, when you try to translate something, it's going to be a different language. You know what I mean?
Still valid, though, I would argue.
Absolutely.
Many languages, yeah.
Yeah, and you you might use another language, right, as we've been talking about it, a different artistic medium, as a mode of appreciation, as a mode of trying to write a sonnet of some sort to something that you love, you think is delightful in some way. But maybe, you struggle to do it, or you just do it the best you can, try.
With the resources that you have.
A question popped to mind. I'm curious what you guys think. That I think is universal between visual art and music and everything. Now I'm trying to form it in the form of a question.
Using words.
So using words.
It's hard.
Really hard.
It's hard.
So the thought is, maybe the question will present itself. So the thought is, on the scale of intellectual to pleasing, what is the level of acceptance isn't quite the right word, or contribution to the world on that scale? Because Bold North, for instance, is not an intellectual piece of music. I don't think I'm capable of writing intellectual music. And what I mean by that is, they're working with the symphony. There's some brilliant living composers that we perform, and they are lauded by other highly intellectual people as very intellectual pieces of music, and that's why they're performed, and that's why they're lauded. And that's not a criticism, that's how it is. And I think it's the same with a lot of visual arts too. But I know that some music that I'll write for our production of Pinocchio or Bold North or something like that, it's not high art. It's not high intellect. It is pleasing. It is meant to be pleasing. So I guess what my question is, from your experience, is maybe lasting is the word I'm looking for. What is the lasting quality of art that's not inherently intellectual? Does that make any sense whatsoever?
I think so.
I'm processing.
Yeah.
I think art is a real mystery. What works and what doesn't. Because, going into a museum, you hear a lot of sort of the same script, the same liturgy. Like, my 5-year-old could do that.
Right.
So when somebody says something like that, it sort of betrays what they think it should be. They believe very much in technical virtuosity.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't see it. It doesn't do that, and then they think that something's not fair. But that they're missing a big point. That's not the whole story. It is a part of the story, but it's not the whole story. Because there's there's some quality that's got nothing to do with technical virtuosity. It's got to do with, or intellectual, sort of rules or appropriateness. Sometimes it's just this resonates. It hits just so. And I think there was a philosopher named Clive Bell who called that significant form. And that's the best we can do to explain it. There's something significant about this that has, it gets everybody.
Maybe the two words that I'm looking for here is resonance versus provocation. Something provoking can be resonant, but it doesn't always have to be both things. So motel art. I really like motel art. It's very pleasing. It's whatever. And this is rampant in photography too. That kind of thing where it can resonate with you because it reminds you of a thing, whatever, but that doesn't mean that it provokes thought or emotion or whatever. It could use memory. So maybe that's the difference, is that, does it need to provoke to be lasting, I guess?
That's a really big one.
But sometimes the simplest stuff is the longest lasting. And I would say that Bold North, your music, and I know I'm biased, I'll admit that. I love this piece. When I am sad, I watch it and I become happy. It does something to me. And I know that it is a musical version of my husband. So yes, it makes sense that it would make me happy. But there's, just because it is accessible and, dare I say the word, easy, music is not easy, but because it is easily liked, doesn't mean that it's not intellectual. And I think I told you too, I had a stand partner, a colleague, while we were playing Bold North with the Mankato Symphony, and he said, wow, Benji really knows what he's doing here. There is something here with this, like your undergraduate degree is theater and human biology. It is not music. Your master's is not in music. And my colleague said that he has worked with countless doctorates of music that produce so much Can we say that?
Say it.
I said it.
We'll bleep that out.
One of these buttons.
But that it is just so wholesome and pure. Maybe those aren't the right words either. But then again, I'm trying to use a different medium to describe the music, and that's not fair. But then there is joy and excitement in trying to find that language that most accurately fits.
Go for it.
It depends on your credo too. You know, it's like I like pretty things and I like to make pretty things. It's that simple. you know,
I think it comes back to what you were talking about with like artistic voice and style and stuff. Is like you can think really hard about it if you want, but also if you create something, you don't have a choice. Like you're gonna just make stuff, and you're gonna have something. Like you're gonna make a painting, and it will be in a style. So it's like, I think there's also this like innocence maybe of just creating, and I think that sometimes it definitely is things like that where it's just it's not very intellectual, and I think that's a delight. You know, I think teaching like kids art is a really, really fun thing to do because
good example.
It definitely connected to what you were saying, Alyssa. It's not intellectual. They're 5 years old, but there's like, it's still resonant, and you can still, there's still something to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of like flips the whole intellectuality of it all kind of on its head, because like it's a 5-year-old and it took them 10 minutes, and it can be like very resonant and lovely, and if
you have eyes to see it.
Yeah.
You know, if you can sort of read that language and see, like, look how beautiful this it's like the widow's mite or something like that. You know, they gave what they can. Yeah. And they're just loving it. They're just having a blast.
Yeah. And this is kind of an aside, but I remember reading a book on writing, which is that's hard for me to do, but I did it anyways. And it was a poet talking about she was like, most of the best poets that I've ever met are kids, because they haven't learned how to talk normal yet. And so their poetry is very exciting, and the turns in it are amazing because they don't know how to speak yet. And so they use words like a crazy person. And it's great poetry. Like, it's so interesting.
But it's a purity in the medium.
Exactly.
That reveals their soul.
Sorry. I love that too, because my favorite band in the world is an Icelandic band called Sigur Rós. And they don't read a note of music. There's not like an ounce of music theory in these guys. But it is the most emotionally pure, direct, communicative music that I have ever heard, and I think I will ever heard, and that's why I love them so much, and because it's so ridiculously untechnical, and so they're not tethered by that, and so once you start learning this stuff and putting it into practice, then it does sort of tether you into a certain way of doing things.
Benji, I want to ask you some technical questions about photography.
Okay.
Not really technical, more like experience questions, because I don't know that much about gear.
Sure.
But I imagine, I'm trying to picture how you capture these images. Let's see how right I am. I imagine that you have several cameras on you. You must have a backpack or the like, and snacks.
Lots of snacks.
Canteen.
Cheese, yeah.
Cheese.
Yep.
Camouflage in some way? Like, are you in some sort of a blind or something like that?
Yeah. So part of this is very much a learn as you go. And so on the subject of camouflage, I just recently learned that camouflage when you're doing wildlife photography, for the most part, is useless because most animals and birds see in ultraviolet. And so the thing that you don't want to do is wear blue jeans, because blue jeans is like a glowing orb of danger to a bird. You know, so little things like that. And so I think the whole process of photography, or this form of photography that I've been playing with lately, is very much that, learn as you go. And so I think one advantage that I'm thankful for is I do think I'm pretty good with composition. And I think that comes with a theater background. I think that comes with directing plays before. Like, I'm pretty good with composition. I can see the picture pretty well. And this is where I usually fall off a cliff with other artistic mediums like drawing. Like, I really wish I could draw, but I can't translate the picture to my hands. It just doesn't connect. But I kind of can with photography. So I think that's where I entered it. And then it's, like learning the specifics of the gear, learning, just like this sort of the danger of a technology-based pursuit, is that you always kind of want better tech, or you think about better tech. And that can be a real danger. But I remember what I used to tell music common tech, a class that I used to teach here all the time, is that it doesn't really matter, because you're asked all the time, what's the best software to use? And the answer is the one that you're quickest and most comfortable with. It really doesn't matter. And so take the things that you have and get good at them, master them. And I think that's the process that I'm in right now, is with the stuff that I have. Is it like the most ridiculous, most professional stuff? Absolutely not. It's great stuff. I love my camera and what it does, but it's getting good at it. It's how does it respond to the things that I want it to do?
The device is not the answer. The skill is the answer.
Right. Totally.
And you got to grow your skill.
So I'm very much in the skill building phase right now. And it's satisfying to get, to feel yourself get better at anything.
Well, let's be clear. I'm asking you this question because I'm in awe of your photos. Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful as images, mm-hmm. and baffling as moments. I can't understand how over and over and over you're in the right place.
That's what I keep being like, he saw this? He saw that. That's crazy.
He was there.
I wonder if that's
give examples. This is an audio medium. Give examples.
When that wave hit that turtle and it opened its mouth. Wow.
Do it again.
Wow.
Say another one.
He was there when that bird took off like that. Wow. He was there when that bear was eating something out of that tree.
Yeah.
I just keep seeing things.
Otters and bees and...
I wonder if this is coming from your theater background as well, because like you said, you build moments, you build scenes on stage, you see these in nature, art reflects nature, nature reflects art, But then, shooting a live
you are what
show,
you eat.
getting that moment, taking a burst of pictures, or whatever. I don't know what he does.
First of all, I'm getting an uncomfortable amount of credit here, and I don't feel great about it. So
you're not allowed to.
Too modest.
Some of it is pure luck, but then I think
that can't be.
One thing so there's this photography podcast that I listen to and I love, and it's called Photo Wild podcast, and one of the concepts it's two professional, very well respected wildlife photographers. And one concept that they hammer over and over again is not necessarily, so like if you're trying to shoot a bird with a camera, not a gun, then that it's not chasing the bird all over the place with your lens. It's selecting your composition and putting yourself in the best possible situation to get the composition that you want that includes the bird.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And then you're hoping the bird flies to that
sort
branch?
But it's a little bit more than... So when I first started listening to this, I had no grasp of what that could mean because I'm just wandering around the woods pointing glass at things.
Yeah.
But I'm still very much a baby when it comes to this, but what I can feel myself getting more comfortable with is that idea of, okay, this is the situation that I want. How do I best put myself in that position? And maybe instead of hoping the bird does the thing, I think the step beyond that is knowing a little bit about the bird and how it behaves. And so you're marrying those things. You're marrying that idea of like this little bit that I know about how this animal behaves and where I can put myself to obtain the result that I want to have. And so
you have a photo of a landed hummingbird with a little paunchy belly.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. So what you just said is like you have to become the hummingbird.
Sort of. Some of it's just time, I mean, all those hummingbirds is just the jewelweed. Yeah, stories of just sitting there, letting them get used to you, seeing how they behave, getting to know. This is going to sound really stupid, but getting to know their personalities. Because you have your shy ones, you have your bold ones, you have your really hungry ones, you have your ones that just want to mate and get out of here. Like you kind of figure out what they want, and attempt patience.
So there's a slight amount of prediction.
Yeah.
And maybe a relationship or something like that where you have to invest in getting to know it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, animals are so much more patterned than humans are. And so, like, you get to know the patterns a little bit and can attempt to predict.
I wonder how far away you are. When I see a photo of a bear, how far away are you?
The bear was...
4 feet.
Yeah.
We were close.
Probably 50 feet, 50, 60 feet.
You were there too?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, she was.
Were you there for a lot of these photos?
Maybe half the show.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, yeah, quite a few.
And just for our listening audience, how many photos do we have?
It's in the mid-40s.
Yeah, like me.
But some of them are a couple 100 feet away. Some of them you get really fortunate and it's like 3 feet away,
How about wasted shots? Is there a way to describe like how many shots it takes to get the one?
Sure. That's another thing that I think I'm trying to get better at is to just not, the old term is spray and pray. And so to try to be more intentional with the clicks. And so I think, and I've seen this with others too. Like some of them, some other photographers are like truly just like hold the button down and then take it home and see what you get. And there's a interesting spontaneity that can come with that actually.
You could be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm trying to reduce that a little bit, just to be more intentional with the clicks. And I think the next thing that I want to do is I'm really starting to get into night sky stuff and astrophotography and maybe the next big project will be the stuff that happens at night and crepuscular times. And so
crepuscular.
Yeah, I love that word. I think that's my favorite word.
It's good in a microphone.
Yeah, right.
Crepuscular.
Yeah, my firstborn.
Corpuscular uniquity. Anyways.
But I think when you're getting into that stuff, intentionality is everything. You're not just going to point a camera randomly at the sky and start firing. It's all about calculation and planning and there's some luck too. There's got to be no clouds and, once in a while the aurora will show up, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
I think growth is an interesting thing that seems to be sort of around the table. I think that goes with the dabbling thing. That maybe we're just people who are just curious and we want to like keep trying, right? I hear that in the way that you talk about sort of being a baby at this, and what's next. So maybe I feel like we're coming to the end of this episode. Any final thoughts? Maybe guided by the idea of growth, or not? Last chance.
I think the phrase that comes to mind is lifelong learning, and that's very much a library-centric frame of mind, yes, but also one that I think allows for curiosity and development and not falling into this trap of, well, now I know everything and nothing's going to ever get better. But maybe if I keep asking questions, if I keep learning, keep opening the book, maybe there will be another chapter of happiness that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise.
You could be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Lifelong appreciation.
Mm.
You know?
I think it's maybe an element of growth too, that growing up I wanted to be a super important famous film composer. That's what I wanted to be. But that, getting older, realizing that that's not in the cards, and it's not a defeatist thing. It's because that those aren't my gifts, and I like too many things to get really good at one thing. And so the acceptance of that, just be like, no, that's not my deal. That's not going to be, and that's okay, because we get to do all these other fun things.
That really resonates with me too. Being interested in too many things to get good at one.
Yep.
Well, I guess, teaching in a college, that's useful.
Mm-hmm.
You can mentor in all different directions, and you can grow in a lot of different directions, and different people are made for different things.
And potentially the more that you learn about what it takes to be a true genius at one thing, sounds very tedious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very tedious.
Yeah,
And
you're sacrificing
less
big.
appealing, yeah.
Restricted.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting, especially within academia, how the goal, people say that the goal is learning, but I feel like few people really know what that means, because of course the goal is learning. I'm here to be here. I'm going to learn what this professor has to teach me, and then I'm going to pass the class, and then I go on to the next class. And if you have that mentality, you're always going to be looking for the next thing to master instead of being willing to just absorb, because not everything has to be an active. I think a lot of things, like we've been talking about, making a choice to appreciate something or making a choice to do something else, I think you also have to make a choice to just sit and absorb something. And if you're always chasing the next landmark, you'll never be happy with the growth that you've already reached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could appreciate yourself a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe it's just reflection,
Mm-hmm.
Brain is really good at absorbing stuff. I feel like that keeps happening in my education. I'm like, wow, like my brain is actually made to solve problems.
Yep.
This is great.
Who knew?
I kind of wish I had the same enthusiasm for learning new things when I was in college than I do now. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Note.
the challenge of college is the milestones, right? It's the grades, all the stuff, and so a lot of times you're doing what you got to do. But I don't know. Learning is more exciting now.
Mm-hmm.
Well into my 40s.
Yeah, and recently I've been able to kind of look back on myself and realize, wow, your brain was half baked. You were not ready. You didn't know what was in front of you.
No.
You didn't know the opportunities.
For sure.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I've just felt like so thankful for doing this podcast is, like, I get to talk to people who are, like, not only a lot smarter than me, but also, like, have experienced a lot of things that I haven't experienced yet, and are, like, here to almost talk about, like what did I figure out from that? And so I think things just keep occurring to me, or, like, in my tiny little, like, beginner's practice, I keep experiencing things, and my first thought is, why would I do that wrong? And then the second part is, like, I wonder if this is, like, a part of growing up or something. I wonder if this is a part of getting older. And, it's a very calming experience. to forgive yourself for growing up, and figuring things out. That's right.
Well, I hope this podcast does some of that as it broadcasts out too. There are some ulterior motives to this whole endeavor. One is to shine a light on how amazing people are around campus, of all ages, all different walks, and maybe we can learn things that aren't in a curriculum. So, with that, I think we just landed this episode. Thanks for joining us for Whistle the Feast. We'll see you next time.
And that concludes this episode of Whistle the Feast. We hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation as much as we did. Whistle the Feast would not be possible without all the creative people and spaces at Bethany Lutheran College. And you can head on over to blc.edu to learn more about the college or schedule a visit. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can actually send any feedback about the show to feastreaders@gmail.com. And hey, if you've got a project you'd like to promote, we'd love to support it. Just send your details our way. A huge shout out to the wonderful people in our Bethany community for sharing their thoughts with us, and our producer Jaksyn Graham for managing the edits. And with that, I'm Norah Kratz alongside Jason Jaspersen, and we want to thank everyone who tuned into this episode of Whistle the Feast. Until next time.
Get curious, be of good service, and discover what God has given you.